Hello, everybody. In this session, we are talking about what is nationalism. Nationalism is a modern movement. Throughout history, people have been attached to their native soil, to the traditions of their parents, and to established territorial authorities, but it was not until the end of the 18th century that nationalism began to be a generally recognized sentiment molding public and private life, and one of the great, if not the greatest, single determining factors of modern history. Because of its dynamic vitality and its all pervading character, nationalism is often thought to be very old. Sometimes it is mistakenly regarded as a permanent factor in political behavior. Actually, the American and French revolutions may be regarded as its first powerful manifestations. After penetrating the new countries of Latin America, it spread in the early 19th century to Central Europe, and from there toward the middle of the century to Eastern and Southeastern Europe. At the beginning of the 20th century, nationalism flowered in Asia and Africa. Thus, the 19th century has been called the age of nationalism in Europe, while the 20th century witnessed the rise and struggle of powerful national movements throughout Asia and Africa. And then the significance of nationalism. Nationalism has deep significance in shaping modern societies and global politics as it contributes to the first national building. Second, political influence, that the nationalism can influence domestic and foreign policies, impacting diplomatic relations and international dynamics. The third, identity and belonging. And fourth, cultural expression. And then we move to the principle of nationalism. Nationalism is based on two fundamental principles. There are the first, the principle of national sovereignty, where territory takes on an outstanding value and is divided ironically. Second, the principle of nationality, which refers to the sense of belonging to a legal order or to the feeling of belonging to a social group which not only shares common characteristics but also forms part of a state whose borders coincide with those of the nation. Nationalism regularly describes two phenomena. First, the attitude that members of a nation have to defend their national identity, and secondly, the actions that the members of a nation take with the purpose of achieving or maintaining self-determination. Is nationalism a political tendency or social tendency or a cultural tendency? This must be a broad debate, considering that nationalism as such can be approached from different perspectives depending on the social scientific paradigm from which to study. Thus, the positivists could affirm that nationalism is an observable, measurable social fact that is imposed on society independently of its members. Understanding sociologists might claim that nationalism is not unique and that there have been so many types as unique and unrepeatable moments that have been presented throughout history. And the Marxists could say that the nation is nothing more than a bourgeois fraud designed to convince the proletariat to fight alongside foreign bourgeois who want to take away the market. So there is nothing to classify. This is just to mention some of the possible interpretations that from some visions could arise. Obviously, the systems of classification of nationalism meet the criteria of the paradigms from which they are addressed. And then, Indonesian nationalism. Indonesian nationalism is an ideology that arose during the Dutch colonial era in the Dutch East Indies, which called for the colony's independence and unification as an independent and sovereign nation. This period of nationalist development under colonial rule is often called the Indonesian National Awakening. After Indonesia declared independence in 1945 and was recognized as independent of the Netherlands following the 1949 Indonesian National Revolution, Indonesian nationalism persisted as a set of ideologies supporting the continued independence and development of the newly formed country. Because of the multi-ethnic nature of Indonesia, Indonesian nationalism does not consist of advocacy for a single ethnic group, and at times has manifested as civic nationalism, religious nationalism, and left-wing nationalism. Some of those forms are exemplified in Indonesia's national motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which means unity in diversity. In Old Javanese, in the country's foundational ideology of Pancasila, or in contemporary laws which guarantee ethnic and religious diversity. Indonesian nationalism in the 20th century must be distinguished from earlier movements of protest, the Padri War, the Java War, and the many similar examples of sporadic agrarian unrest had been pre-nationalistic movements, the products of local grievances. The nationalism of the early 20th century was the product of the new imperialism and was part of wider currents of unrest affecting many parts of Africa and Asia that remained the subjects of Western colonialism. In Indonesia, nationalism was concerned not merely with resistance to Dutch rule, but with new perceptions of nationhood, embracing the ethnic diversity of the archipelago and looking to the restructuring of traditional patterns of authority in order to enable the creation of Indonesia as a modern state. I think it is enough on this session. Don't forget to give this channel with your like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you.